My hands were shaking when I killed the skid steer that morning. Not from fear. From the kind of rage that crackles under your skin when someone calls you a criminal for defending your own name. Our HOA had just slapped me with a $1.8 million lawsuit because I flattened a 2-story glass cabin they built on my land without asking. And there was their president, Sloan Bartlett, standing in white boots that were sinking in the mud, waving papers, yelling about approved community property like I'd bulldozed a hospital wing. Yeah, that happened. For the record, my name is Evan Cole. I build furniture out of barn wood and walk my shoreline at sunrise because I like to know what I'm responsible for. Riley, my wife, used to produce TV news before we moved out here for quiet. And Mac Alvarez, my best friend from the Army, who now wears a deputy badge, is the one person who can tell me hard truths without dressing them up. 3 months before that lawsuit, I'm sipping coffee, dog at my heel, following deer tracks through the red willow, and everything goes too quiet. The way woods hush right before a storm. I turn the bend, and it's like someone dropped a tech billionaire's lake house onto my father's fishing spot. Glass walls, imported coral sand, shaped into a fake beach. A hot tub pointed at the sunrise like it was built for Instagram brass fixtures, catching the first light. And a speaker chirps from the soffit. Welcome to Shore Club on my land. You know what I mean? When I say my laugh sounded not right, like it came from the wrong person. Because there's a bronze plaque at the door that reads Birch Point HOA Community Enhancement Project. Coordinator, Sloan Bartlett. I check my Jeeps and the blue dot sits deep inside my boundary lines. Nothing ambiguous. Nothing fuzzy. 30 minutes later, a pearl white SUV pulls up like it's donating a wing to a museum. Sloan steps out with a tablet, and that corporate smile voice Mr. Cole we're activating. Shared shoreline. Use the community has been begging for access. And I point at the ground. This is Cole. Land always has been. She hands me a folder with stamped pages and a map that looks official. If you've never held a real survey, we're fully permitted. Environmental remediation, public benefit. Then she taps her tablet like she's closing a deal. Approved community infrastructure is protected. You'll want to tread carefully. And I say the only thing that made sense to me. Maybe you're unfamiliar with a deed. Mac rolls in, and it's a standoff with manners. He doesn't cuff anyone. He writes a report you could frame then. He says low so only I can hear it. Ev, this smells bigger than a bad survey. Do not handle this alone. I try to live like it's a misunderstanding. You can clear up with a form and a handshake for about 12 hours. Then the squeeze starts. The bank wants to review activity patterns. Our insurance reassesses risk due to possible environmental issues. A county inspector shows up with a warrant to swab my shoreline like I'm dumping chemicals in the water. And at the shop, my camera LEDs blink wrong. I pull the feed and there I am. From angles I never installed, Riley slides her coffee away like it's live wire. That's not a glitch. That's a tap. A tech buddy of Mac's cracks the system and goes pale. Whoever did this had real funding, which is a polite way to say this wasn't a nosy neighbor with a drone. I'm not proud of what came next. I snapped a little. Then I did what the Army taught me. If they're watching, feed them a show. Riley and I staged conversations in camera view about documents that didn't exist. Strategies we never planned to use. We planted fake folders and let breadcrumbs lead nowhere. It felt petty and brilliant and a little insane. But it bought us time. Help found us in a hardware store aisle when a quiet woman in a nubby cardigan asked for me by name. I'm Paige. I kept the books for the HOA until... I didn't. We met at a diner 3 towns over where the jukebox never works. She slid a flash drive across Formica like it might go off. They profile families, veterans, folks who won't sell. They track marriages, medical bills, school pickups. They call it de-risking the files. Showed emails to permit clerks with too friendly language invoices to a private security firm that sells corporate espionage, like it's pest control and drafts of neighborhood narratives that would turn people like me into unstable, anti-environment problem cases. Riley's face went into that. Still focus she gets when rumor turns to record. And I asked Paige why us. She chewed the inside of her cheek because I typed it, and I saved it. And I've been waiting for someone who won't fold. And I wanted to say, I'm not a hero. I build tables, but she'd seen the cameras and the warrants, and she was betting on my stubborn. The squeeze got meaner. Anonymous complaints hit Mac's chief about his unprofessional involvement with me. A permit auditor tried to treat my glue like toxic waste. The coffee shop I've been tipping at for 10 years suddenly couldn't find my order. A whole town can split in a week if the story is told with enough confidence. You know what I mean? Then a little past midnight, 3 hard knocks, and 2 soft at the workshop door, our old signal from Afghanistan. When something was urgent, but you kept it quiet, I open. And there's Mac in a black windbreaker with a federal task force patch. He sets a folder on my bench. You were right about big wrong. About how big inside is a case mapping HOAs as pretty packaging for land grabs around lakes and rivers. In multiple states, money laundering through fake remediation nonprofit sites. No, and names I don't. Sloan isn't a mastermind. She's a manager. Her husband Grant is the money. The county environmental guy is the pipeline. And then the part that changed my house. Mac looks at Riley. She's been talking to them quietly, building a record in case you got arrested or hurt. I turned on her, ready to say something dumb and brave, but she beat me to it. I wasn't hiding. I was protecting the story and the person telling it. I swallowed whatever pride was about to trip us and nodded because she was right. A week later, dew still on the grass, a marshal posts a federal order signed by Judge Naomi Porter mandating immediate demolition to preserve evidence and restore the shoreline. I didn't cheer. I just exhaled for the first time in weeks, and the town shows up like it remembered itself. Boy Scouts sell liberty. Lemonade. A retired teacher brings a flag that flew over Khe Sanh. Riley calls camera positions like a live truck producer. Mac runs the safety brief like a man who has seen what teeth of steel do to foolish boots. And I fire the skid. Steer there's a sound glass makes when it gives up. It's ugly and honest, and somehow cleansing every scoop exposes something real. Under the coral sand is rich black dirt that smells like rain under the imported palms. Are the old oak stumps my grandfather planted at one point. I wipe my face and spot a low boat knifing across from the far shore. No numbers on the hull. 2 silhouettes duck at mid-lake. I look at Mac. He looks at me. We file it under later. The civil suit still lands. Sloan in an orange jumpsuit tries to sue me for what I tore down by court order. We sit under fluorescent lights that make everyone look guilty. Her lawyer calls that glass box a community asset, and me a violent actor. Patricia Reed. From the feds stacks exhibits. Until the table groans. Paige testifies about emails and invoices. Mac ties local actions to the bigger case, and then Grant, the husband, brings a briefcase that probably weighs more than my old rucksack and says flat, I have recordings and transaction logs. It's not dramatic, it's surgical, and Judge Porter doesn't give a speech. She just cuts. Claim dismissed for lack of standing. The defendant is awarded $60,000 plus legal fees for harassment and interference. I glance at Sloane, expecting a meltdown. She smiles, small, real satisfied, and a chill runs down my spine because that smile doesn't match the moment. After that, vans with 3-letter jackets box up computers. At the HOA office, accounts freeze with names that sound like children's charities and act like laundromats. Grant hands over a drive labeled Project Shoreline that maps 10 states with little notes that make your stomach turn. Veterans present, weak local press, exploitable code sections. Riley reads them with her hand over her mouth. Paige stops being the copy girl and starts briefing agents on how HOAs get bent into weapons. Mac gets seconded to a task force and starts living out of a go-bag again, me. I go back to sanding walnut because my hands need to make something honest. The town mends in small ways that matter. The barista cries and comps my Americano 2 neighbors who believed I was the villain. Show up at the demolition with a cooler and wordless apologies. We hold a forum at the high school about running an HOA without letting sharks in the door. Audits dual signatures sunlight on everything. And Riley says into a gym mic, you can have neighborhoods without having a cartel. People clap like they mean it. 6 months later, I'm on the dock teaching a kid named Milo to flick his wrist so the lure kisses the water. And my phone buzzes a message routed through more countries than I've visited. Harbor Stone Development in the subject line, 1 sentence in the body phase 1. Complete. Initiating phase 2. Nothing else, no threats, just a progress. Note, like I'm a task on their Gantt chart. I forward it to Patricia. She calls. We're seeing similar pings in 3 states. Don't panic. Don't relax. I hand the phone to Riley. She squeezes my shoulder. Then we tell the truth louder. And get smarter that afternoon. We host a barbecue because fear grows in the dark. We pass a spiral notebook labeled Community Defense across folding tables. Lawyers who answer on weekends, a records request template questions to ask any contractor who says pilot program. It's not fancy, but it's a way to show our kids we don't scare easy. So here's my ask. If you were me, would you have flattened it or left it standing while you fought in court? Did I do right or get reckless? Have you seen an HOA used for good, or have you watched a neighborhood turn into a dressed-up land grab? You know what I mean. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what you've seen in your town. Drop your take in the comments and keep it honest. And if you want me to peel back what phase 2 really means and how to spot it before it lands on your lake, hit like, subscribe, and say, phase 2. So I know you're with me. We didn't fold before, and we're sure not starting now.